All right, guys, welcome to Spitfire Series 2, Episode 15. My name is Tunn. I'm hosting this week. Brycey has decided to not turn up. Now, he is busy this week, Brycey, so he's not going to be involved, but we will have him back from next week, I hope. But joining me this week is going to be Tactical Rab, of course, that fella off of Reddit and YouTube that always posts all these informatical videos. He's fantastic. I love him. And also, the very first player has been announced onto a franchise team, which is, of course, Wuskin. Guys, how we doing? Rab, how's things, mate?
Absolutely fantastic, mate. It's been a crazy week. I'm not gonna lie. This last month has been mental. Obviously, joined by Brad. Surprising addition. When you said he was coming on, I was like, "Get me in here," because really, really mental. Like, I didn't think we were going to get an announcement this early. To be honest,
Brad's a man of the people.
Exactly. I can't respect it enough. He said, like, London said they were going to do another announcement today as well. They said more tomorrow in yesterday's announcement. So I'm hoping they'll do a tweet during the show, rather than just after we finish, which they probably will.
How are we feeling, Brad? Yeah. We just heard you were celebrating last night, obviously, after the announcement that you would obviously join London. How's the head?
A bit rough. I am a bit rough, but yeah, things don't seem real. Let's just put it that way.
Bloody hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty crazy one, but look, let's get into it. We'll talk about your coming into London very, very shortly. But the first thing I want to talk about, because I think it was one of the biggest things, and personally I tweeted out saying that NRG had pretty much already won the whole roster maining period by getting Hex on board. Hex obviously leaving Optic, and definitely now he's no longer part of that organization. He split away from the acquisition that did come in during the off season. He is now part of NRG and goes in there as what was his title? Coming in as like a chief operating
co-CEO is what he is. Yeah,
he's a big dogger. He's a big.
I think he basically runs the Call of Duty side.
So it sounds like he's basically like a GM of the COD side. So I mean that's a humongous thing and a major win for NRG for me. As soon as I seen that, I think I don't want to like talk about Twitter numbers too much, but you seen the NRG Twitter just explode. Like the whole thing, the Chicago COD and everything just exploded. Everybody started following up immediately pretty much, and it just shows the pull that they have. But a massive win for NRG getting Hex on board, and pretty much you feel as if that's where the Optic fans are going. They're going with Hex, it feels like, at the moment.
Oh, I mean, there's no question, like, especially the ones that are like not the completely casual fans, the really casual Optic fans that like just know the name and stuff will probably still support the LA Optic next year, especially the really new fans who are probably like TJ and Dashi fans that are probably still going to be on that team. But like, it's so mad how one change can just completely swing the fan base. Like NRG are now going to have pretty much, probably, I don't know, 80% of the Optic fans are just going to go straight over to that team. They're going to follow Hex, they're going to follow Scump. Good decisions from those two, if Scump is going to be on that Chicago team, to go together. Obviously, that makes a lot of sense from both perspectives. Just such a mad move, because we've been thinking about what Hex is up to behind the scenes for 2 months, like where he's going to go, because we knew he wasn't going to stay with Immortals, with Optic, so it was kind of inevitable, that part. But where he ended up, the fact that he's a co-CEO rather than, like, as you say, he's not a general manager or anything, like he's got real influence. And NRG, there's a lot of questions for them, because their entire fan base in this one esport is going to be fans of effectively a different team, like hashtag NR Green Wall, this stuff, right? How do they incorporate that into their branding, right? Like, there's big questions. Exciting.
Yeah, it couldn't have been a better pickup for them, and it's automatically give them a lot of pulling power, not just in fans wise, but I mean, look, we've seen some of the rumored rosters, and I don't want you to like spill anything, Brad, of course, but at the same time, some of these rumored rosters look pretty powerful. Let's not lie to ourselves.
I'm gonna be honest. The competition looks like it's going down. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Everyone's made teams around. I won't say superstar teams, but some people have got they've got 5 people who are all just as good as each other. That's how it's gone this year by the sounds of it. Where last year we had like one or two really good players, and then the rest were spread out. This year it's like 5 players who are like just as good as each other. Like, that's how it seems. Like 3 or 4 teams are done, and the rest of them are just, I wouldn't say meh, but they're not stacked like the other ones.
Is London done?
Yeah, I'd like to say it is.
Oh God. Well, we look forward to those sort of announcements. But yeah, Hex going over, we couldn't understand him more. And a real shame, I feel, like the way that it all ended with Optic and everything like that after how it has happened, that it is going to split the fan base. But it sounds like a lot of what, in terms of players that had fan base, may actually end up going with Hex, according to the rumoured rosters. Of course, Scumpy being one of the guys that is rumoured to be going over towards that Chicago team. It's sad to see it finally ended, but at the same time, I think if you were an Optic fan, you would be relatively happy with how it seems to be playing out, I would say.
I mean, I think you've got to be, if you're like, especially if you've been around a few years and you're an Optic fan, the fact that Scump and Form were being back together on a team with Hector, like, it's kind of a dream come true. And a lot of people even back in going into, say, or like when the Dynasty team, whatever, was splitting up, a lot of people, especially going into this game, when they kind of came back together, came back onto the team, it was going 5v5. Some people were saying, get Gunless in as the fifth of that team. And, now maybe Gunless playing with Formal again. Interesting, though, because I thought we heard this season that it was like one of the, if that is the case, like I thought Formal bloody hated Gunless from what we heard and, just destroyed the chemistry of that team. So interesting if it is a rumour. Apparently it's true, so I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure we'll find out. Like, I think, and Brad, your announcement yesterday may have actually just start like the dominoes sort of falling, where we will see more teams start to announce just because other teams are announcing. I think that's what we're probably going to see. Let's move on to that though. Hex moving over to NRG. We'll put a pin in that one for now. But Wuskin, you were the first announced player last night. And that's on the back of the London, Chicago, and Seattle spots being announced early on in the week. There was that whole thing with the London Twitter though, that I'm not going to put your organ a blast. Hated the way that it actually transpired.
I've already put a word in. Let's just put it that way. I've already put a word in. Let's just put it that way.
Is Swiss running your social media account?
You think he is? You would think he is. Yeah, I've said something.
Yeah, it was a couple of queries, wasn't there? Let's be honest around how that one happened. But either way, I think myself, a lot of members of the UK and European community are absolutely ecstatic to see London with the spot. And couldn't be more excited to have yourself on there. It's nice to, we've seen a few of these teams, like the American-based teams. I don't think anybody has so many loyalties to cities, etc. But whereas when it comes to the UK, everyone sort of backs the UK guys because it's a smaller population. We look after our own, and I think that you being on there is a real testament to what that roster could end up being. I'm not going to say it's going to be like a 5-man UK team, but it's nice to have at least a presence in there. I mean, for you surely would have, like, as soon as you had some sort of contact from a London team, that had to, like, call out to you straight away, surely.
I thought it was crazy. Like, about 5 days ago, I was about to sign a contract with somebody else.
Bloody hell.
And the night we were doing it, it was, I don't know if we can say, I'm not sure we can say this, but Joe said, what's it called? Is a London spot being announced? And out of nowhere, we're like,
he's been announced as the coach, which we'll touch on.
Yeah, and I just thought, I thought he was like not taking the piss, but I didn't think he was serious. And 2 days later, before you know it, there's a spot announced, and we've already got half a roster. So I don't know. I'm not sure. It was too good to be true. Let's just say that.
Wow. So
that's actually mad.
Yeah, that gives me a lot of expectations for this roster now, mine, Brad.
But even in the context of like the fact, just as you said, Brad, like all these superstars being signed to a lot of these other teams that have got in there quick, like it's the same thing. Like you could have been gone, and then like where would London have started? Especially if Scraps is away as well, and like Zero is rumored to be on this New York team. So it's like I'm thinking that London's trying to go full British roster. I don't know, but just the way they're branding it, the fact that all their coaching stuff is like that, that's how it seems to be going. And if they'd have got in, as you said, like a day later or something, then like they might have had a completely different scene. So
it was close to them having, I don't know, if like I said, if it was another day, then we would not have been there. Yeah.
It was just like there's been announcement coming out of this London Twitter, so that's been good to see. We haven't really seen this much activity, I think, from any of the other franchise spots. There's been here and there, like announcement of GMs, that sort of thing, but outside of that, we haven't really seen like much staff being put out there. But Joe coming in as a coach, have you spoke to him much? Like, I did want to try and get him on, but I know he's not a very talkative fellow in a public sense. We like, you know, I speak to Joe like privately, like at events and that sort of stuff, but I wouldn't say somebody would really come on and do this sort of thing. So I didn't reach out. But do you know what his decision was and why he chose to do coaching, or was it just maybe just he thought it was time to maybe move on to that, or?
It was trying. Honestly, when you remember when the Red Reserve stuff happened in Vegas, when when he got kicked out of the house,
Yes.
he was thinking about doing it then, to go into a coach then, and he was close. He was at one point he was going to go to FaZe with my brother as a coach.
Oh, okay.
This was right at the start when all this happened, so he was thinking about doing it then, and then he decided to keep playing, and he did, and obviously now he's at the end of the year he's saying to himself like the best decision is probably coaching London, and that's what he chose.
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of people will sort of say they see like the personality that everybody at home sees. He's a quiet guy, etc. And a couple of people are like, well, he's really quiet. Will he be able to get his point across? But I think what a lot of people don't understand, like Joe's actually a really confident lad when it comes to talking Call of Duty, and he's always been one of these people who is not afraid to say what he thinks. And I think a lot of people don't see that. And obviously, his COD brain is ridiculous. I mean, if you are on five-man flanking every single round in S&D, then I actually like it's a waste of time having him on board, to be honest with you. But he's going to offer a lot different. I think, you know, having this amount of experience on this level recently will be good. I mean, outside of like him, I think it's Crowder is the most recent player who's moved into a coach role. And that is pretty much, I mean, TP, yes, but that's maybe a couple years ago now. So he has that experience on the big stage, like right now, like very recently. So he should be able to carry that over quite nicely to help you boys out. He definitely knows what he's talking about. I think the slower game will probably help him do this as well. You know, it's going to be probably more of a tactical game than we've seen in previous years. Not going to be Black Ops 4. It's 5-man headbutt and a hardpoint. It's going to be more like sort of chilled out. So I feel like he'll settle into that role quite nicely.
Yeah, no, I think he will.
Yeah, it was a big surprise for real seeing that, like, because I didn't know he was considering retiring or anything. I think a lot of people were in a similar boat. It does make sense when you think about it, though. Like, it's Joe's sort of game, and I don't really know what the rumors are surrounding game modes this year. There's been some talk of maybe like having 5 game modes, having like even that was rumored. I don't know if you remember that, but that was rumored a while ago. Having like, I mean, like CTF and this reverse CTF thing called like infection or something.
Yeah, we heard about that.
Whatever, there'll probably be CTF, and that's like Joe's bread and butter in it. So I'm pretty sure he'll be a helpful coach. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and it's not just Joe in there. Obviously, Dom and Shane are going to be in there helping out as well. It's a very well-rounded coaching team as well. Mate. And I'm curious to see if we see more of this. I mean, we've already seen with New York, we've seen that Revan's in there with JP obviously being the stats guy. CWL are really going to miss him, by the way. Fantastic having him at events and just be like, JP, can you tell me and he would just be like, yeah, there you go. And it was fantastic to have him, so completely going to miss that. But on top of that, though, like, you know, these people are forming teams. It's not so much just get a coach, you'll deal with it sort of thing. It's like teams of coaches. It seems like the coaching, I was going to say meta, the coaching scenario has like sort of upgraded already. We only seen them really come in last year, the year before. Now it's really getting a lot more serious with coaches where it's like a backroom team rather than just having that one single coach. But I suppose that's just due to the cost of these spots. It's not cheap. You want to invest as much money as possible to make sure you get a good return. So I don't know what you think about Shane and Dom coming in though. Brad, you had a lot of work with Shane last year though, and I'm sure you enjoyed that. He was a good coach, I know.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. You know, to have I wouldn't necessarily call it 3 coaches, but that's basically what we've got, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out with them 3 done. Who says what and who does what. So
yeah, so
interesting.
I just want to like check the Twitter. So they were obviously Joe was announced as the head coach.
Yeah.
But the other 2 were announced as something slightly different. When I'm just going to actually.
I think Shane was assistant coach.
Okay.
And I mean, there was like an analytical, something.
I think that was strategic coach is Shane.
That's right.
And assistant coach is Dom.
There you go. Yeah.
So, I mean, look, they'll figure it out themselves. It's hard for me to say it here and say, well, Shane will be doing this, but you know, Dom will be doing this. I wouldn't have a clue. But I think, it's
I mean,
nice.
if every team has 3 coaches,
Yeah.
how many people are we gonna? Because I mean, I was kind of worried. Like, I know Easy Mac quite a bit. The guy who was doing the analyst stuff with FaZe this season.
Yeah.
And with the FaZe stuff, not being sure it is, doesn't seem like FaZe is going to be a thing. Like, I was a bit worried, but now I'm thinking like, I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on with him. I haven't talked to him for a while, but if there's all these coaching positions going, even if FaZe isn't in the league, like analysis wise, like he was miles ahead what he was doing on his laptop at Anaheim. So, I mean, fair play. It's going to be a lot of opportunities with a lot of people. I don't know how many ex-players we're going to get going to roles like this, because a lot of people obviously have tweeted out about looking into opportunities like that. Makes a lot of sense. But I mean, if London's got 3 coaches, other teams are going to be like, well, maybe this is the meta. Like, we need a head coach, assistant coach, like strategic. I'm sure Toronto's probably going to go down a similar route.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think when they announced that they were keeping a hold of Mark, they had him as a specific title, so it wouldn't surprise me if, a lot of these people are coming in with multiple coaches. But, of course, as I said, so Brad has been announced as the very first player. That must be feeling quite nice, actually, you being the first one to be announced. It's like first pick sort of coming out. I know it's obviously, there's a lot of people probably who have signed contracts before you for their teams, but to be the first announced must feel pretty nice.
It is crazy. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you think about it,
like there is a lot.
actually,
like what? So you're talking 16 teams last year, 5. So that's like 80 people. So 79 people at least that you sort of beat to being announced first. If we're just basing it even on last year, and there's going to be more talent potentially on this as well. So I think the fact that you got in there, it's good to see, and it must be a good feeling either way. But let's move on a little bit to people leaving organizations. So Krim actually announced basically like an hour after we finished Spitfire last week, typically, that he was leaving Optic Gaming. And I think it's sort of developed a little bit since then, though, hasn't it, Rab? It's sort of come to the point where we aren't 1,000,000% sure where he's going. It seemed as if he had sort of been palmed off by, I think it was Scump, Tej and Dashi were sort of sticking together. That seemed to be the rumor, so to speak, but things seem to be changing a little bit now. But either way, Crimsix gone from Optic now. They will not be teaming together throughout this next year.
It was really interesting how it went down. Like after the Crimsix, when he went on CSGO, he's talking to these like randoms. One of them happens to be streaming. He's talking about like what the team is and stuff. And then like Formal, like on stream talks about that clip, and it's talking in Formal's tone of voice. You could kind of tell that there's got to be some truth behind it. But yeah, supposedly, like the word Crimsix used was an ultimatum, which I guess was kind of given to Scump as to like, do you want to team with Crim? Because apparently the situation is that Scump was happy to team with Karma, or it was happy. No, sorry, let me get this straight. Was happy to team with Crim, but didn't want to team with Karma, and the rest of the guys. Kind of reminds you a bit of World War II, doesn't it? The rest of the guys in the team, like Dashi and TJ, weren't minded with teaming with Karma, but didn't want to team with Crim. So Scump basically had the choice of like, do I go play with Formal and potentially the other guys on that Optic team, which apparently was rumoured, not anymore, or do I stick with Crim? So it was kind of like a no-brainer for him. Mm-hmm. And then Six was talking about how like this was given to him the day before an important franchise announcement. He's been doing all these mad tweets. It's been exciting, man. Like Crimsix is not the type of character to be like a hero Optic gaming type. It's always been weird. Have you not thought like Crim being an Optic doesn't work with his character? Like he needs to be a
which is going to be good, I think, because I think a lot of people will point out the fact like you feel like it's reignited a fire, so to speak. He's one of these players who will 100% come back and make sure to try his goddamn best to be the best in this game. And I think a hungry Crimsix is a very dangerous one, Brad.
I don't think him being, I won't say necessarily be dropped. It was more or less who he was getting dropped for. That's what didn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going ahead now, but who he was getting dropped for and who they wanted him gone for was very, very questionable.
See, this is really painful because I want you to say, but I know you can't.
The rumour was Cap, so. But I mean.
Yeah.
Maybe it was rumoured to be. I think it was rumoured to be Cap or Enable.
Right.
I ain't gonna say that's true, but if that's going ahead for Crimsix, then I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it would leave a sour taste because it's not like Crim was bad in Black Ops 4. I don't think he was at his best, but I don't think he was bad by any stretch of the imagination.
just who they were dropping it for didn't make sense to me. That's what
Like,
that's what
I
they
guess
get
at some point, like duos and rosters just run their course, and like Scump and Crim have teamed. Like, I guess they're the one of the longest standing duos ever. You know, I mean, even though you don't think of them as a duo, they've been teaming since what, like Advanced Warfare.
Mhm.
So I mean, at some point, it's got to come to an end, I guess. But yeah, as you say, doesn't seem like that's going to happen anymore anyway. So
Yeah. And I think another thing to touch on, if we're going to speak about maybe some strange decisions we've seen being made, it sounds like Pristini hasn't even been contacted yet, like from his tweets the other day, or it hasn't signed anything, or has nothing gone in concrete. And to me, that bewilders me. I know that Pristini's not one of these flashy guys. He's not putting up crazy numbers, but I mean, the man won 2 chips towards the back end of the last season, the 2 most important of the year. How does that not have more weight? You would think it has a lot of it. I mean, if I was to pick on hand my 5 top players for my team personally, he probably wouldn't be in it. But at the same time, not everybody's going to get their top 5 players. You can't go out there and have the 5 best players immediately. It just doesn't work like that. You wouldn't think. So you would absolutely think that Pristini would have sorted himself out. It sounds like he has been sorted out now, but the fact that it's taken so long as well for me was just a bit bewildering.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting because I don't know how many of these teams have like GMs sorted and stuff that are already thinking about these things. Because in the past, a guy like Pristini, the players I think know that he's a pretty humble guy. He like I don't know. I think he was an important part of that United team. I think he made a lot of space for them. You can't expect him to go off every map. Obviously, he's not going to have as much stock as some of the other United guys. But at the same time, I feel like if the players were the ones completely making the decisions, Bristini would be relatively high up the list. In terms of stock, like he should be pretty decent. But I don't know how many decisions are being made by some of these orgs based on just name value and things like that, because Bristini definitely does fly under the radar. So maybe that's indicative of what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, just to put in perspective, obviously we had Doug on last week. Somebody just brought it up. Like Sensor is getting offered potential. Well, he says he's been getting offered contracts like before, like people like Pristini.
That's not true.
Surely not. I mean, look, we had Doug on. He could say his piece like last week, but then we were still like questioning some of the things that were said. But irrelevant of that, there still has been some questionable things. And, you know, just to touch on what you said there, Rab, it's been one of those things where I've heard this week that some teams don't really even have GMs. That sort of thing is like coming in, like players are making decisions that they've already signed and things like that, which I find crazy. I don't know. I thought all the teams would be like, get somebody in to control... Sorry, Brad, to control the players, like to the point where, you know, like there's so much money on the line that it really surprises me that this is being left up to the players continuously rather than like a management perspective. The players will know who they want to play with, but at the same time, to manage what's going on, I still feel like you had to have like an out or above source to try and put it all together. And it sounds like some of these orgs haven't got a GM, bizarrely.
I feel like that's how it seems. I feel like everyone, like most of them have GMs, about like 2 or 3 of them, and they're all willing to. The people I spoke to when I was, because at first, I'll be honest with you, I was with my brother and Dylan as a 3.
Oh, okay.
And everyone we went to was like, they all basically said like, if we get you 3, you're deciding who you're playing with, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, we never thought it was like that. We just said, you know, we're going to be here, and then they're going to try and say we're teaming with him and him. And
well, that's how I thought it was going to be, personally.
Yeah, we did, and then it changed. Like we had everywhere we went, we basically had control of the team. I don't know. It was weird.
I kind of understand that, like, because
to a point, yeah.
I mean, I just think it depends what kind of guy you have as your GM. You know, I think it makes sense as a GM to kind of decide what kind of core you want to your team. But then I think the players would probably know better than you would with any, you know, more than likely to decide who should fill out the rest of the roster. So that's interesting to hear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I find it interesting. Obviously, you guys will go around as a 3. I know you probably won't be able to speak too much to what's gone on with that. You know, I think a lot of people, especially with the tweets that were starting with London, were presuming that Scraps was going to be going there because of just his activity in and around the London account. Obviously, that's not transpired now. Any particular reason? Have they just chosen to go a different direction?
People don't realise that There's if all these super teams you seen being made, there's a 1.6 million cap on salary.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if let's say if there was a team and me and my brother Dylan, and you name two other superstar players, and let's say my brother's on 300k a year, and then someone else is on 300, and before you know it, if you have 5 superstars, you all want serious money,
Yeah.
and before you know it, you're touching the cap. And then when one of you turn around and you go, "I'm on more money than you," that's when things get sicker.
So was the cap an overall cap of 1.6?
I think it was basically not impossible to go over, but I feel like
Yeah.
if you went over the cap, I think you have to give him some serious money.
Yeah. I mean, that is something to think about, that team players can't... Sorry, so just to confirm, so the cap was a soft cap.
300K, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's... So that cap, I thought that was for each player, that cap was, or was that for the team?
That's 1.6 mil for a team, I'm pretty
For
sure.
the team, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I must have read that wrong.
Does that include like subs and that? And
No, surely not.
Yeah, it is
I
subs
don't
as
know.
well, but
Oh,
it
is
is subs
it?
as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, that makes sense. That does make sense. All right, fair enough. I suppose that means we maybe won't see as many of these big teams, or unless people are willing to take cuts to just be on a better team. And I think that's what it comes down to as well. Some people might maybe say, like, go and secure the bag and maybe not have as good a team, or do they choose to maybe whittle that salary down just a little bit? Because you don't need 300 grand a year. You'll be fine. 200's okay. I'd take 100 at this point.
nice decision to be made.
Yeah, it's not
Nice
that tough of a decision.
I'll take
surely.
300 and play with these. I'll take 200. Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the teams do transpire. Though we will see more announcements, I'm sure, very shortly. I said, Brad, we know that London have got one coming out today. I don't know if that's going to be around players, but we will see. Is it an interesting one, Brad?
It is a very interesting one.
All right, okay.
It isn't no typical average announcement. It is a good announcement as far as I know.
All right, okay. We'll
They
keep an
actually
eye on that.
guess. Might make the video.
Right, okay. If anybody in the Twitch chat sees that come up, let us know, and we'll jump straight on it, because we've got Brad to answer as many questions as we can fire at him when that comes out. Okay, let's talk about the beta. This week. Of course, the Modern Warfare beta did come out on PlayStation 4 firstly, but then other consoles are coming in this week as well. Really interested to hear both your guys' thoughts. Obviously, coming from Rab, myself is maybe a little bit different to Brad, but I think overall we've seen so many people talking about the minimap, which I feel as if overshadowed the fact that the game actually feels pretty nice. Brad, I know you were enjoying it. I was popping in your streams. You were frying, of course. So You've been enjoying it.
Yeah, I love the beta, man. The only problem I had with the beta was the minimap situation. I didn't think it was that bad. But when the other team had a UAV and I didn't. Like I said to my stream all the time, I literally might as well have gone down and got a drink while the UAV was in the air. Like, it was literally pointless. But other than that, I didn't have a problem with it. I loved it.
Yeah, I think. Do you think it felt better after they put the map in, even though it didn't have the red dots on it? Because I felt so much better as soon as they put that back in.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see what route they go down with the minimap, but let's delve into the details of it then. So, weapons, what we thinking? Like, the M4 immediately is absolutely the best weapon so far. Wouldn't surprise me to see that get toned back. I think a lot of people were talking about the TTK, and me and Rab were talking about this before we went live. For me personally, the TTK felt fast because of the M4. The rest of the guns felt pretty fine to me. I don't know if it was just the M4 that felt a bit overpowered.
I thought it was pretty reasonable, to be fair. Like, considering the way the game's going to be played, like, I was pretty happy with the time to kill, because as Aches was talking about, it's going to mean that you actually have to play the game smart, Yeah. Like, it does not give you much room for making too many mistakes, right? Especially as long as that stim shot thing isn't in competitive, which I'm sure it won't be.
It won't.
Like,
you would think. I don't know if it'll be even...
Assuming it's not, like, then... I mean, I was using it in pubs. It's pretty OP. But, like, yeah, I think the time to kill suits pretty well. Maybe the M4's a bit too quick, but the MP5 is nice. The MP7's really nice. The M13 is nice. Like, the guns genuinely feel really good. Also, you can change the hit marker sounds to classic. I don't know if anyone tried that out.
I did immediately.
Makes the game sound a lot better, doesn't it?
Yeah, I had a good flick through the settings like immediately and like changed a couple of things around.
It's like you're getting ridge.
Yeah. What sort of auto aim are you playing on, Brad?
Standard. Yeah.
I think that's what everyone's
changed
sort of leaned towards. But it's nice to have that customization. I think, like, to be able to actually pick something is quite nice. But I think a lot of the concern around the beta outside the minimap was possibly the maps themselves. Grezna Raid might be one of the worst Call of Duty maps I've ever played, personally. I think that's maybe just to the amount of buildings that there actually is that people can chill out in, and it's gonna happen. I think. One thing I had to tell myself, I was relatively negative about the beta after the first couple of days. I think, a lot of people, myself included, got caught up in the fact that it's actually just pubs you're playing, and it's hard to judge it off that, isn't it? It's just pubs. People are going to sit in corners. It happens. It is going to be relatively campy because there's so many places where people camp, specifically on that map, Grezna Raid. It's not the best map, Grezna Raid. I think Hackney was pretty good. I think the newest one they released, what was a good names completely disappeared out of my head. The newest one they released,
Gun Runner or something.
Was it?
I don't think I ever played that, but someone tweeted about it.
It was pretty good.
Last day.
It was pretty good. I wasn't massive on Azir Cave or whatever it's called. That was I think the maps have been questionable, and that's what sort of got people talking about the maps a little bit.
I mean, yeah, like my thoughts on the maps is like, we kind of knew it was going to be like this because we knew what direction they were going to go. The maps back to traditional stuff. They were going to go like Ghost style with some of these maps, which fair enough. I kind of like the fact that the maps actually take some learning. You can't just drop right into the map and immediately figure out where everything is like a 3-laner. There's like some jump spots and stuff you can get on roofs, which some of them are just too strong and like just annoying from getting killed up there. But some of them, it's like, okay, fair enough. There'll be some cool spots and stuff. But yeah, most of the maps are trash. They won't be in competitive, surely.
You wouldn't think. Especially not Grezna Raid. I think that's the one that immediately for me surely isn't going to be in there. But, we can maybe move to, the UAVs, those sort of things, kill streaks back in. I think that's where like the annoying pub game has come from. For me, there has been those annoying little elements so far.
Claymores.
Yeah. Oh God, Claymores.
We won't talk about the Claymores.
Yeah, you can't see them, and because it's like you're limited, to what we can actually use, because you're only up to level 20 after the cap was broken. Obviously, it was level 10 originally. So I think it's the fact that you're limited to what you can use. So people are like, screw it, I'm putting Claymores. Look at all these buildings I have to camp in. Of course, I'm going to use Claymores, and then here's me sprinting around thinking I'm playing Black Ops 4. And just running into Claymores getting Claymored left, right, and center. Yeah, it's not been a great week for Claymores. Good lord, they're really hard to see as well. I think that's the main problem.
Them, I did not miss them.
No, bring back bouncing Bettys.
It goes black and white. Like, come on, is it not already punishing enough being at like 10 HP for 15 minutes or however long it takes you to regen in this game? Like, can I just actually see in color, please? And I genuinely saw a comment on the Modern Warfare sub saying, "Oh, your screen goes black and white because it's realistic." And I'm like, you're taking the piss. I can't even tell anymore.
Mate, I do not venture onto the Modern Warfare Reddit myself personally. I looked on it last week where people were trying to justify camping, and I think like in TDM.
Not get into this.
In TDM, we're gonna get into it. In TDM, I can understand it because you are like, your lives matter, and if you really want to win that public game, then yeah, okay, camp away. I get it, but it's when people are like camping on like domination and like somewhere they shouldn't, that has no influence on what's going on, just in a random building. I think that's where people are getting mistaken by people complaining, is the fact that some places some people were sitting was questionable. But that's pubs. I think, that's just pubs. But I think overall the consensus is that the game feels pretty good.
I love the game. I think the game's really good.
Prefer it to Black Ops 4 already?
Yes, I do indeed.
Nice slow game for you, Brad. Yeah, it should be a good one for the ARs, I think. Or are we thinking SMGs have been blessed? Because I've seen a couple of different opinions on my timeline.
I mean, the MP5 is pretty blessed, I'll be honest with you.
The MP5's good. I think, especially when I put the
game, but
I think especially when you put the 10mm ammunition on it, that made it like more powerful. The bullets, of course, and it become a little bit better over range. So I think that's when it was sort of coming into its own with that as well. But up close, but then again, the M4 for me was just ridiculous. Like at points, I didn't see the point in not running it.
the thing is with the M4, like especially with the attachments the way it is, like you can make that gun so different. Like you can make it really fast. You can put a short barrel on it. Like I don't really think the short barrel's worth it. Like maybe the negatives is too strong, but you can really switch it up and make it more mobile. Like that gun can be anything you want it to be. And it's the same thing with the AK. I think I'm pretty sure you can put attachments on the AK to make it an AK-74U.
The AK was horrible when I was using it.
Like, yeah, it was. Yeah, I couldn't use it enough to unlock the attachments I needed to make it like a 74U. But I've heard you can. It's just like you can you can make hybrids basically.
Brad, do you think we're going to see a big differential in the weapons used this year? Obviously, it ultimately will boil down to everyone figures out what the best weapons are, but there's a lot of scope because not just because there's a lot of weapons. I think what was there, like 8 ARs? I think 7 or 8 that you could unlock at this point. A good few SMGs as well. And then you can change all these things about it. Do you think it's going to be one of those games where we do see like the single gun, like you'll see a Maddox Assault, like that sort of thing? Or do you think it's going to be a bit different? Or is it hard to say?
I can see it being different 100% because the ARs, for example, we didn't even get to unlock half of them.
Mm-hmm.
Half the known good ones, like you've seen the FAL in there, the one that looked like the ACR, you've seen the SCAR in there.
The FAMAS is nice as well.
The FAMAS is in there. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure. There's a big variety, like a really big variety. So who knows?
I think another thing me and Rab were talking about before we went live that I think a couple of people were concerned about was the mounting. I didn't think it was that bad, like leaning and stuff. I didn't feel like it was too overpowered in the beta from what I've seen.
Back in Ghost, they didn't allow that, did they?
No, I don't think they did they?
I don't know if you were allowed to. I don't think you're allowed to do it. Anyway, go on.
It's a time to kill. It's a time to kill though. It gets me like 9 times out of 10 when someone is leaning or whatever they're doing, it's only the head showing. You hit someone like twice in the head. Yeah. They're dead. Do you know what I'm saying? Every single time. The time to kill is so quick. So I don't know if that does benefit you.
And I think, when we were talking about, the TTK, one of the big staples of that argument for me was the fact that the headshot multiplier, as you said, is so strong. And flinch is pretty strong in this game as well. There's been a lot of kicking up in the heads as well. I think flinch is something that a lot of people have worried about for quite some time. And it's something that I feel like needs reined in, and it might actually fix the whole TTK issue to a point, because if people aren't getting kicked in the heads as much, then that is something.
I think it's on a knife's edge. I think that's
a thing. Point. Yeah, if you change it too much, it's like which direction does it go?
I think Krim made a good point in the head. Like he says, I've got a tweet up here. Headshot multiplier needs to stay. Headies are already powerful enough with it in, and with the rate of fire of the guns, the time between shot to shot is significantly shorter than other CODs. After playing this for 3 days, try and imagine how campy it'd be without it. Like if you didn't have the option, as Brad said, just to 2-shot someone off like leaning around a wall or 2-shot someone off a heady, like it would be way more powerful just to be sitting up there, and you'd be punished super hard for rushing, even if you've got good centering. So like I don't know. Personally, I didn't think the flinch was that bad. I don't know if that's just me, but I kind of was happy with how it was.
Yeah, no, I liked it.
Okay. I just a few people on my timeline, myself included, who were a little bit like, I felt like sometimes I was getting killed like headshots constantly, but then that could just be down to the multiplier. Maybe I'm just horrendous. It could be that as well. But overall, I think everyone had positive things to say about the beta. I think ultimately what everybody can see is a great amount of potential for this game. I think the base is there for a sensational game. Spawns and stuff, I'm not going to get into that too much because, for one, I doubt we're playing Headquarters. I doubt we're playing Domination. It's the beta. What's the point? Like, I think, spawns change like night and day all the time at the beginning of the games. So, no point in going into it. We know they were bad. Hopefully they get fixed. They probably will get fixed. It's hard to say without playing the other game modes. But we are actually going to move on to questions in the chat. So get them in the chat for us, boys. Let us know anything about what Wuskin's doing. I'm sure you'll have some questions for Brad. Let us know if there's any questions about the game as well. We'll delve into these in just a second. Let's have a look.
Ask for this announcement now.
Oh, yeah. Come on, let's see if this announcement's going to come up.
If it's actually interesting, it can't be like... If it's interesting, it can't be. Because I was thinking they just announced Dylan or something today. But that was my theory. But I'm like, if it's interesting, it can't be. I don't know, mate.
Brad's just he's just
Yeah, I was
going
gonna say he can't. He's not giving
saying
anything away.
anything.
Poker face, mate.
I'm trying to find out.
The announcement is. Okay, right, so let's go to the questions. LFC Letters, how many players have been signed to the London team so far? Brad, I think you alluded to that before.
I want to say 4/5 are already done.
Okay, so it's
I want to say everybody got a full roster.
Oh, okay. We talked about it before. You won't say anything more, which is fine. Which is fine for now. Although I will be questioning you after we go off. Okay, so best player to not get picked up by a team yet. I think it's hard to say that one though because we don't know who's been picked up.
I mean, what was the last
Top
list
of your
of
head?
names that Intel COD didn't hear anything from?
I'd probably say Luna.
Ludi hasn't been picked up yet.
He's not.
Looney
I think
would
he's
have been like one of my like.
not signed anyway. I'm pretty sure he's not.
Yeah, Looney's got to be like, if I don't know, if I was a general manager and a lot of the other kind of leadership figure type players are gone, like Looney would be up there, no doubt. I rate Looney. I think he's underrated as hell.
Yeah, 100% think so. Okay, so Looney is answering that question. Let's just have a look. Where are we? Okay, which
purchase London season ticket? Go on.
Be £500, all going into Swiss's back pocket. Shockwaves Bro ask, which player will A, improve the most on this year's game, and B, drop off the most? That's a tough one. I think ultimately you're going to see potentially the really quick players who, I mean, this is me maybe just saying the generic thing. You feel as if slower players are going to get a lot better this year and quicker players are maybe going to suffer a little bit more.
I'm thinking improve Assault maybe from Black Ops 4. Like he is a turtle, bro. And like watching him, I'm pretty sure Saint Marie Dumont in World War II, he must have averaged like a 1.5 KD on the year on that map. Like he was just stupid good. And then this year, bang average AR. Like I reckon he'll prove a bit. In terms of getting worse, like it's tough to say. I feel like guys like Dylan and Simp and like just the really cracked out, incredibly fast-paced players in Black Ops 4, I don't think they'll get worse in terms of like their ability, but I just think the game will be more punishing for those play styles. Like
it's going to be harder to do that. It's definitely
Dylan can't jump into a hill and like pop a two-piece because he doesn't have 150 health. Like he's going to jump into the hill and be lucky to hit a couple shots, you know.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, don't think they're going to get worse or anything. I just think that like their stats are just going to suffer naturally because of how the game works.
Brad, are you going to be an absolute phenom this year?
Silly question. Back to the old roots.
The last Infinite Warfare game, like, or Infinity Ward even, Infinite Warfare, that was your game, mate.
Yeah. So everybody else just ran a Malux the whole year, you know, it doesn't matter. We'll call the year up.
MT Bods asks, where did the name Wuskin come from? I'm sure you've said this before, but he's forgot.
I've said this a lot recently. I said it in my chat stream in the beta. When I played Godfall pubs when the game was out, and then there's the guy who I used to play hardcore with because that's what I started playing.
Same.
And on the leaderboard, it was like third on the leaderboard or second. There was a gamer tag called like mine, but called Wuskin with an L, and he was on the top of the leaderboard all the time. And I started playing with him, and every time I said his name, it just sounded good. So I thought I didn't want to have the same name, but I wanted one like him.
Yeah.
So I just made it Wuskin. It said Wuskin.
Control C, Control V.
Get it done.
Ever since then, I've used the same name.
That's an interesting one. Is Brad going to be staying in the US for the new season, or is he relocating again?
Relocating, we are staying in the US.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in the US.
Yeah.
Which I mean, look, a lot of people were sort of saying get a London season ticket, etc. But I think we were all sort of aware that most of the league is going to be going on in America, isn't it? Like, you know,
we have an idea, like what they.
I mean, that seems to be the idea.
No, I'm sure that is the idea, but like, how are they going to do it logistically? It's so interesting because you can't have a London spot and a Paris spot and just have nothing going on in those countries the entire year.
There is games being played there. There is.
Okay, yeah. That's the answer I wanted to hear. Like, I mean, I imagine they'll, That's what I'm guessing. They're just going to fly everyone out for like a weekend and just play some league games like it's a tournament. I don't know.
So maybe think like the way I think is that the NFL occasionally come to London. I think they'll do things like that. I think they'll move it around to just broaden it to the world, but it will mostly based in America. I think that's how it sounds like it's going to go. Is it true that this year's Rostermania has been a friendship Rostermania where teams are being picked up because they're friends, Brad? I think there's always going to be an element to it.
Yeah.
Players want to play with their friends.
Yeah, there's some friendships going on.
Yeah,
there is. That's how it works. That's how it works every year. Everyone does that every year. Like, you either want to win or you want to sign something to get paid.
Yeah,
that's who them people are.
I mean, now we got like general managers and stuff being like, potentially, don't know, but if you were to pick up a GM that was friends with a previous player, that's obviously going to make your chances better in it. So it's going to happen naturally. Like, can't escape it.
Okay. So one from Osman Lopez. Osman Lopez is asking, does Brad want time to play to reunite? So Scump and Formal, do you want them to reunite? I would say you don't. Although, track record, as of recent, maybe not as good.
Honestly, I don't care, to be honest.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Gonna smoke him anyway. Right?
Yeah,
light work.
Okay. How will London players practice to live in London? Okay, well, so we've sort of half covered that sweeper anyway. Will London and Paris squads be based in the NA? So we covered that. How many subs do you think teams will be picking up?
2.
I'm thinking 2 or 3.
I think most people are just going for 2 because I think that's what you need. Like, I think that's in the rules. You need 2 subs. So
yeah,
I think everyone's just going with the minimum because obviously, as part of, you have to pay them as well.
Yeah, I think that's a stickler,
like
isn't it?
Payment or something.
Yeah.
I think if you didn't have to pay them 50k minimum, then everyone would just be filling it up and using them as like practice teams, that sort of thing. But I think the fact that it's 50k minimum, that's at least 100 grand. You have to put it aside, so they will just be probably minimum to most people, and sort of saying, right, you come in and I'll there. Oh, excuse me, the sub roster.
I still think that's like 84 players, is it? Like 12 teams, 7 players a team. Like, that's still reasonable. Because this year, what was it? 16
times 5.
5, like, so 80 players. It's like, and subs actually, so ignore that. So, like, another 96 players or something. So, like, still, that's, and some of them were coaches anyway. So it's not actually that dissimilar this year to last year.
No. It was before these other 3 teams got announced, because some of us were like, how many spots is there going to be? Like, it could have been a really cut down league, but thankfully those other teams did get announced, so there's plenty of people there to go. Thought on score streaks to see in competitive. Only the 5k slot, cluster strike, cruise missile, and precision airstrike are the only one that looked viable so far. So in terms of kill streaks, what ones did you say that you sort of thought that would be good for competitive, Brad? I think the cruiser missile was there or thereabouts. I think it's a really difficult question to ask without actually having access to them all.
The chopper gun is broken. Let's just get that out.
It's really good, yeah.
The chopper gun is insane. The mist arrow was like, I wouldn't say it was shit, but because it's like that slow and it's not that good.
Yeah,
it's not too bad for competitive.
I don't think it's too bad. It'll have its uses, but it's not like game breaking or anything.
Yeah,
like
it's not
that.
insane, and it's
which is good.
So.
I think some people for me were complaining that it takes too long to get it out, that sort of thing. And I was like, but calling in a missile in real life isn't like
first day or something.
Yeah, but it still takes a relatively like a good few seconds to activate it. It's not just press it and it's in. It's not like a Hellstorm was last year, which was fairly quickly. I think it's a good time. I actually quite like where it's at. So that's a hard question to answer until we do actually get all the score streaks out at this point. Let's have a look. How reactionary do you think pickups are going to be from right? Okay, so how reactionary do you think pickups are from champs placements? So how do you think that some of these pickups will be based on how players played at champs, or do you think teams are going to be making decisions based on the new game and who they think is going to be good at the new game?
I think it's like how players.
It's a bit of both for me.
Rather than, I don't know how much placings matter, just because I'm thinking like Enigma 6, those guys, and like the units lads, like I don't know what's going on there. Maybe Wee Man got picked up. I forget what the rumor was there, but like Mayhem was saying on Twitter that he hasn't been picked up, and I'm sure a lot the other guys in that team haven't as well. I feel like it's the names, the people that have been picked up that are like young gun kind of guys that are new on the scene are the ones that like made a name for themselves, not necessarily placed well. Like guys like Kleenex, he's been linked to this Toronto team. He did a tweet saying he's been signed, or at least implying it. And a guy like that is not necessarily as proven or anything as some of those Enigma 6 players. But he's a guy that made his name at Champs, comes top 12, similar to a guy like Insight. And these are the guys that seem to be getting picked up. And he does definitely, have a bearing on what people do, but maybe not the placings as much as like what players stick in their mind.
Yeah, you think so? Question from Ethan EU: Has Brad had any control over who he plays with? I mean, I presume you wouldn't have signed the contract if it wasn't very good.
Let's just say I went to 4 different orgs, and every single one of them said you could have the whole team situation.
So you could sort of like say who you'd be happy to play with.
When Champs had finished, no one thought they had any control. Then the past 4 offers that I went to, with obviously 3 of them with Dylan and my bro, they all said to us like we get to pick who we play with. So I don't know what changed, but every year we got control. I mean, it's not like we asked for control. Like we never did that. We never was bad towards them. They just said you get to pick the roster basically, which we never expected. So.
Okay, but it sounds like you're happy with the squad that you've got either way.
Yeah.
Okay. When can I post just a London season ticket? God knows if that'll exist. Let's have a look. We've already answered that question. I'm sorry, I'm just having to have a look through. What amateur will make the biggest impact in the pro scene next year? It'll be streamed with Dashy and average 10 to 20 more kills than him. What I would say is that don't base it off what you're seeing on him playing with Dashy and wages.
He's obviously best player in the game.
I think that Ilya is definitely somebody who could potentially be up there as like somebody who didn't play in the Pro League last year. That could be up there. I think people are looking at Shotzi. Top of my head from the UK, I think you could still typically class like guys like Toby Kleenex as amateurs because they were throughout the year. I think he could potentially have a good year depending on what sort of team he gets onto. Brad's not saying very much.
What you're talking about amateurs?
Yeah.
Going off Champs and who like Kleenex obviously look good. And Insight looked good, but we're talking about these players like this Shotzi and what's it called? This Illa. Can't really go off him, but he's doing in pubs,
It's hard to say. It's
difficult not to say, Illy, though, like especially how much the degree to which they've been gassed, and like what we've seen from Dashy and Simp and Abizi and Celium, and especially towards the end of the year, like they haven't always. Not every S&D star has turned to gold, but like most of them have. And Illy has been gassed for like 3 years probably. But it just feels like he was 15 like not long ago, and now he's going to be playing the season. And Shotzi, I guess, is slightly more under the radar because he didn't get a chance to play latter half of this season. I think he turned 18 in like July or something. So some people were thinking maybe he'd get picked up for Miami.
It's too much of the business end of the season to make that sort of decision.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. So it's like, it's tough not to say them, to be honest.
Yeah. Couple more questions, and then we're going to cut this one. Sway22 asks, is it true that Sensor actually has offers? Lol. I wouldn't doubt that he has an offer of some sort. I think he's surely...
Pretty sure he has. I'm pretty sure
he'll have something. Whether that is as a member of staff or a sub position wouldn't be too surprising. I'd be surprised if he had an offer for a first team slot.
He doesn't have the offer from a first team spot, as far as I know. Most certainly doesn't. He'd probably get a set on the team on the bench because I would say who he is.
Yeah,
that's why you would see. Like honestly, I'd say he doesn't deserve a spot on a starting roster. Like he doesn't.
Yeah, I think.
I feel like he does deserve a spot on a bench.
Yeah.
Like if he thinks that he deserves a spot on a roster over some people, then no offense, but he must be delusional. But like he does, like I'm not going to take it off like away from him. He does deserve a spot on the bench, So it would be good to see him on a bench.
We'll see
spot.
what happens. I think that opinion is held throughout the scene, to be honest with you.
Someone will get him, like probably on the bench. But if he wants to play, like someone will get him. There's a lot
more people who just like Zach's bro deserves like a starting spot over him. Denz will, Sean will. There's loads of people who could. He's bearing in mind he's not played since God knows when. So if he thinks that he should be on a starting roster, then
if you want any answers to that sort of question, we obviously talked to Doug last week. Go check out Spitfire last week, and he offered his insight as to why he thinks he should be on a spot. Either way, EGL, what do you think of the Hex to NRG? We've already spoke about that. If anyone does want to see what we thought of that, then go back to the beginning of the episode. It's right at the beginning. And obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, just rewind it all on back. Do you think Karma will get picked up, or should he be coached? I think he'll get picked up.
Damon will get picked up.
Yeah. I don't think how could anyone take the risk to not pick him up?
Yeah.
For me. I
definitely get picked up.
There's just there's still the chance that he could be one of the best players in the game. He obviously hasn't necessarily been at the top of his game on these very fast-paced games, whereas when we're coming back into a bit more of a slower game, you still feel as if he's got something in the tank. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think there's any disputing that. Let's have a look run through. Bricey says, can't believe I'm never doing a Spitfire again. Alright, just to confirm, I have not sacked Bricey. He's talking shit. Okay, we are very much just Bricey's having a break this week, and that is absolutely fine. And thankfully for you lot, he'll be back next week because he's a significantly better host than me. I hate to say it, but he is. And he'll love that I've said that, actually. So if he's still there, he'll probably mention it. Okay, let's go on. Fired for being too good. That was what it was. Yeah, nothing to do with your haircut, Bryce. Let's have a look. Any more questions? I think that will do it. Brad, do you know when this announcement is?
I asked that Swizz. He replied 17 minutes ago saying sorting it now, so...
Okay, so it should be tonight. So hopefully we'll see a London announcement tonight.
There's your answer.
Okay, excellent. Brad, thank you very much for coming on. Obviously first player who's been announced as a franchise player, if you like. Super happy for you, obviously, and thank you very much for coming on.
Sorry for being half asleep.
Mate, you're all good. I would have been celebrating as well, knowing how much money Swizz has probably give you. Jesus Christ.
Thank you.
Rab, thank you very much for coming on, mate.
All good, mate, anytime.
Excellent. Well, okay, thank you to everybody who was in the chat. I hope everyone was enjoying the beta this week. Getting online for that one tomorrow, where we're obviously going to have crossplay. That's going to be something interesting to talk about. We will be back next week. I think Bryce will be back next week as well. And I'd imagine, with the way that things are going, we will have a lot of rosters to talk about. So if you want to check out Spotify as well, we will be posting the links on social media. We will be putting this on YouTube as well if you did miss anything. But we'll be back next week, and we will see you guys then. Catch you then.